Managing Windows File Explorer's navigation pane. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. The navigation pane, the left-hand pane in Windows File Explorer, can be a cluttered mess. In fact, I suspect that for whatever reason, cluttered mess is the default setting. Fortunately, you have much more control over what goes in there than you might realize. Let's examine some of the things we can do with Windows File Explorer's navigation pane to make it more useful. Before we even look at the navigation pane itself, I want you to open up the Options dialog in Windows File Explorer. We'll do that this way. We'll click on the ellipses here in the upper right of the menu bar and click on Options. Now, there are some options here that I want you to look at carefully. One is Open File Explorer to Home. That's the default setting, and you can see here in the File Explorer behind it that that is in fact what has been opened by default. My preference generally is this PC, which is down here. That is this PC, and it just shows you the drives on your machine by default. The other option, which I tend to dislike, but I at least want to make available to you, on mine it says Leo-Personal. On yours, it's going to say something else. It's OneDrive. If you select this, then Windows File Explorer will open by default onto your OneDrive folder. And you can see here, there's Leo Personal with the OneDrive cloud icon. So that's what it would open to by default. I'm going to go ahead and set it to this PC. Just to show you the result of this, we'll click on OK. We'll close Windows File Explorer, and then we'll open it again. And it opens up to this PC with my drives being shown. Great. Now, there are, of course, some other options that I think you want to play with. We're going to go back to the Options dialog. Remember, that's the ellipses and the Options item. I'm going to move this to the side here so we can see some of this. We want to look next at these three options down here under Privacy. Show Recently Used Files controls what's shown in the Recent section. Now, that's normally in the Home, the lower part of the display pane. I uncheck that because I rarely want to see my recent files. Show Frequently Used Folders. That is responsible, I believe, for a lot of the clutter you find in the navigation pane. It will automatically, randomly pick folders to list in the navigation pane based on what you've been doing recently. I'm going to uncheck that. And then finally, Show Files from Office.com. This controls whether the files you've recently been accessing online, typically via OneDrive.com, are listed. Again, I don't want the recent stuff. I kind of sort of know what I'm doing. In attempting to reduce the clutter we see in Windows File Explorer, I recommend you turn them all off. I'll click on OK. Some things might change, some things might not, but in your case, you may find that the navigation pane has cleaned up quite a bit already simply because it's been tracking the folders you've been using and listing the ones it thinks you might want to come back to. All right, we are not done with options. In fact, what we want to do now is take a look at the View tab in the Folder Options dialog and scroll down here to, well, the navigation pane. You'll see that there are several things that it says, show this, show this, show that. You know what? Choose what you want, but I'll bet there are a couple that you don't want. For example, show all folders. I'm going to uncheck that and just hit apply. Boom. You can see right away that the navigation pane has cleaned up a little bit. Show libraries. I'm going to uncheck that. I'll click apply and a few things more disappear. Show network, which is down here, and show this PC. I'm going to leave those on because those, I think, are things that, honestly, I use and are generally useful, especially since we've set this PC to be the default thing to look at. All right. Now, with that little bit of cleanup done, we can move on to pinning and unpinning. You'll notice that there are now three sections here. There's the upper section, which has Home, Gallery, and the link to my OneDrive. Really, there's not much we can do about these three. Down below that, however, these are your pinned shortcuts. You get to choose what's here. And as it turns out, there's a lot of stuff here by default. And if you don't need them, if you don't use them, you don't have to have them here. So for example, videos. Right-click, unpin from quick access. Music, right-click, unpin from quick access. Now, I'm going to do it for all of the items here just to make a point, and that is that you don't need to have a quick access section at all. I've unpinned absolutely everything, and now we have a very neat and tidy navigation pane. But we could actually make it more useful. On my C drive, I'm going to create a new folder. New folder, my local files. This is one technique we often use to avoid OneDrive by simply putting our files in a folder that has nothing to do with OneDrive. My local files. Well, if that's something I come back to often, I'm going to right-click on it and say Pin to Quick Access. And boom, there it is. So no matter where I am or what I'm doing in Windows File Explorer, I can now quickly return to that folder simply by clicking on My Local Files in the navigation pane. The bottom line here is that Windows File Explorer is honestly excessively complicated for some of this stuff. But now that we've seen where some of these options are hidden and what the effects they have are, it's worth taking a few minutes to learn how to customize Windows File Explorer, in particular, the navigation pane. You might find yourself using Windows File Explorer more frequently and more effectively as it becomes a less confusing and, as we've seen, more focused tool. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/188995. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.